This video is all about how you manage yourself, how you look after yourself for sure, but also how you get to show up authentically as the leader that you want to be. Let's start to look at the things that make the biggest difference for you. First of all, you need to have a reality check. And so many of us have got so used to toughing it out, pushing through, not letting the cracks show, keeping going until we don't. But the thing is, if people are used to feeling connected with you as a human being, they know when you're pushing through. They know when you are a little bit shut down, a little bit closed off to them, because they feel it. And however uncomfortable it feels for you, lean in and try and stay connected. It's that connection that calms down our physiology. It's that connection that allows you to really feel the safety that you need to feel to bring yourself back into rest and restore mode. So let's have a look at some of the ways that you can start to do this as a leader without losing any of your sense of control, without losing any of your perceived authority, without losing any of that stuff that you think is super important to how you show up. First of all, I think you have to be really honest and brutal with yourself about where you're at. We're often too busy, either literally or in our heads, to really pay attention to what is going on for us. But it is this paying attention, it is this being really in tune with yourself and what you personally need to function well that enables you to combat or even just recognise when burnout might be creeping up on you. You need to be really aware of the things that cause you personally angst and stress and the things that you might need to deal with. The first is environment. And I think environment's important on a number of levels. If you are not getting the fresh air, the daylight, the periods of quiet that you personally need to be able to function, you don't get any downtime. You're constantly stimulated. And we've each got a different level of what we can control. If you are more extrovert, for example, you probably would find it hard to function for a prolonged period of time if you were in an office on your own with no external noise or communication. If you're an introvert, on the other hand, you might find that too much noise, too many people bobbing in and out, actually is really overstimulating and quite stressful. It is about knowing what you personally need to function well. We might not be able to take ourselves out of our work environments all of the time, but what we do need to know is when we need to create a little bit of space for ourselves, a little bit of respite, and what that space looks like. The second thing that you need to pay attention to is how you feel. Now, feelings can sometimes feel like a dirty word in leadership, but actually humans survive and thrive on a bundle of feelings and emotions that determine our physiology. So contrary to popular opinion, there's no good or bad emotion. We feel what we feel. All emotion is just data. It's important in terms of us being able to calibrate where we're at and what's going on for us. If you are intentional about how you want to feel and you're paying attention to how you actually feel, you're much more likely to be able to course adjust if and when you need to. The next thing is focus. Focus is one of my favourite things. You probably hear me talk about it in most of my videos because actually we have an enormous amount of control over where we put our focus. And it's control that gets us away from burnout. It's control that helps us to feel like the human being that we want to be. We kind of sleep through our lives, allowing our focus to go to whatever presents in front of us, whether it's the notifications that we've got emails, whether it's the person knocking on the door, whether it is the monitoring from above, all of those things. When you can get that central internal locus of control over where you put your focus, then everything else starts to fall into place. You get to prioritise what you do. You get to choose to focus on stuff that you can impact and control, so you start to feel physiologically safe. When you start to put all of this stuff together, we get to how you show up. Now, the reality is most of us pay zero attention to this most of the time. Or if we are paying attention to it, we're paying attention to make sure that we fit in with what we think people expect, what we think that we should be doing for the role that we're in, how we think we should be behaving. I'm here to tell you that in terms of burnout and your own emotional well-being, that's catastrophic. You can't control a lot of things that go on around you. You can control the energy that you put into the environment. When we get really clear about what we want to put into the environment, who we are as a human, how we want other people to feel around us, then we show up in a way that is true and authentic to us. We stop being quite as responsive and reactive to everything else that's going on around us. If you've got to have a really difficult conversation with somebody, the way that you do that is going to be different than if you're having a very casual chat with people in the coffee room, or if you're in a meeting presenting a load of findings to somebody. The way you show up is going to be different, but it has to be true to you, and you have to feel congruent in that. I often see people almost one-upping themselves or one-upping each other about how busy they are, how much they can cope with. All of that is unhelpful. You know, what we're trying to do is to create an environment for ourselves and for people around us that feels manageable, that feels safe, and that feels like we are making a significant contribution. Resist the temptation to catastrophize. Resist the temptation to keep telling people how busy you are and how little time you have for everything. Because guess what? If you keep telling yourself that, you're going to start believing it, and you're going to feel it, and it will impact how you show up and connect with people. The last bit I want to talk about is remembering the wins. Part of your brain, called the reticular activating system, will literally look for more of what it is that you focus on. Now, you've probably heard this before. People sometimes call it red tie syndrome, or when you're going to buy something, you suddenly see lots of that thing around. There's no more of it. You're just paying attention to it. You're focusing on it. So often we're busy looking at what is coming down the track and what we still need to do. We forget to look behind us and see just how much we've achieved, just how much we've done. When you start to focus on the things that are going well, on the wins that you've had, not only do you remember to say thank you and praise your team, you probably do anyway, but it comes out organically and authentically. You also start to build up your own confidence, your own commitment in your ability to deliver and do stuff. Now, I've covered a lot of stuff here, and within that, there will be things that can help you. And I think it's important that you start with the bits that resonate with you the most. It's not a checklist to do everything all in one go. The only way we get past burnout is when we start to have really honest, open conversations about it. And I think as a leader, you have to get brave enough to be able to both acknowledge to yourself what you're feeling and where you are, and to ask for help. The critical bit here is that you don't bottle it up inside, and you don't allow yourself to become defined by what you feel, because that's really destructive. I think courage to ask for help, courage to be vulnerable are absolutely fundamental to being able to be a good and human leader.